Hello, this is Dick TERMES. I'm here to do a unique workshop with you, and I think you'll find it a lot of fun. And it also is valuable in that you can actually produce a very large, it's like a mural, but it's a three-dimensional mural with all kinds of kids' input in it. That this kind of keeps them organized together. So what we're going to be doing, well, first I want to just show you a little bit about my own work. I always like to start with showing some of my thermospheres. I'll get it back here where you can see it a little bit. This one is like a room, a 6-point perspective room that has a lot of trees growing in it. So you can see it's like, if that's north, south would be on the back side over here. But this one, the trees that are growing in here are not just trees, but they turn into people. And so if you look really close at the trees right here, you can see that that turns into a face right here, and another face looking at it from this side. Let's keep turning here. Here's another face up on top, one on this side. And it kind of just keep popping out at you as you go along. I always like the idea that when you look at something and it actually turns into something different, so that you never tire of seeing it because you think, oh, I'm looking at a tree, but then you go, oh no, I'm looking at a face. Oh no, I'm looking at that face on that side of the line. So it keeps changing and changing and changing. And that makes it kind of fun. It's fun to do for me. And it's also fun, I think, for people to look at. So that's the kind of work that I do. But today we're going to be doing a workshop that plays with this structure here. It still turns into a three-dimensional thing, but it's all based on a triangle drawing or triangle design. So your object is to draw a picture in here or a design in here, but with the objective or the within a system, and the system is that you have to run your lines off all of these points right around here. So there's 4 points on each side. There must be 12 different places then that you have to run your lines of your design or your realistic images off. And I'm going to show you a lot of different examples of this so that it isn't like what does he mean by that, kind of stuff. This is a design I did on it, and it really is going to be fun to color in and everything. I'm going to have a good time with it. But if you look close, see how it runs off on all of these points? That's the main objective, and there's no extra lines running off. Because what has to happen is this design has to be able to fit with itself and be a tiling that goes on in all directions to infinity. Could be your floor tiling. It could be a design on your wall, like wallpaper. This is a good system for what's called tiling. So that's what we're going to be doing. And I have a really great program that I want to show you, and it takes you through this quite well. Now this is called Tetra Art, because it grew out of the tetrahedron, which is the three-dimensional object to start with, and I'll show you what I mean. So what I did, you can see the 4 triangles in this that run across here, and what I did was I flattened out the Earth so it would be accurate and look exactly like the Earth looks, except the water is a little bit weird. So the water is where I took the distortion out. When you flatten things out, you always get some distortion on the Earth globe. And so the 4 patterns, if you think about this running off right here, the equator, it actually comes back on right here. So this is like a 360-degree picture. This side over here fits with this side over here. And what's interesting is that when you run off the North Pole here, you also, this actually fits across over to here. And the South Pole, that would fit right over here, right in there. So that's part of that's what excited me to start with, but it actually grew into a lot of different things and turned into this really cool workshop for students where what this student designed was just this triangle right here. That's all that they designed. And then they take it to a copy machine, copy it off. And then after we put the 6 different triangles back together, we end up doing the coloring, and which could be done 1,000 different ways, and get an end result for yourself. And what I do is ask you to save one of these triangles when you copy it off for me. And if I'm tied in with your school and doing this project, I would make a large polyhedron that like 100 and some kids, each triangle could actually fit together on that, and we'd make a large one for the school. But I want to show you where, when I started with that Tetra Earth, this is what's kind of fun. When you fold this up, it can turn into a tetrahedron like this, 4 equilateral triangles that fit together, and all the continents always show up in the right place. Or you can take the whole 3 system, all 3 of them, put them on a larger tetrahedron, and all the images as you cross over are in the right place also. They're run this way, or if you run across over here, it's always the right continent is always in the right place. So lots of stuff could come out of this. On the flat surface, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 of them fit together, and the continents are in the right place, or 1, 2, 3, 4 this way. So you can go this way, you can go that way, or you can go this way. Any 4 of them will make a complete Earth. And that excited me. That's what kept me going with this system. Later, I realized a whole bunch more stuff could come out of this. But for a while, I was busy just playing with the Earth. This is actually like 12 foot long across here and about 6 foot tall. And it hangs in the middle school in Spearfish, South Dakota. Right? The kids helped me put this together and color it in and everything. So that was one of the results. This is a concrete thing that's in the park in Spearfish too, where it goes from 3-dimensional to 2-dimensional and continues to fit together properly. So it's quite fun. This is about maybe 6 foot tall. And I just twisted it. I reproduced it many, many times, put it back together on both sides of a strip, and it actually makes a really cool Mobius strip too. So there's lots of ways to display the Earth or your own type of project. This was one that a person up in western part of the country, I think in Oregon or Washington, actually a mathematician, put this together after he saw my little system of 4 triangles. So it just grows into a lot of really cool stuff. Now, our project that we're going to be working on, it grows from this little sheet of paper that you can find and copy off. There will be a site to go to with this video. So you can copy this at home or run it downtown or run it to the school or whatever, and produce this. And it has a lot of information. If you look at the outside edge, it has a lot of information about what you can do with this. But this is what I showed you. But what's cool is when you copy it off, and notice that I actually cut the lines so they don't show up at all on the triangle. It looks like they do a little bit there, but then this is the reason. When you put it back together with itself, that's one way it could fit. And there's actually along this edge, I'm going to keep this constant, the same one, and twist this one and put it together 3 different ways. So let's see what it looks like when you go with 3 different ways. There's eyes to eyes kind of way. And this is eye going right into the chin, kind of the chin of this person going this direction. So that's the 3 different directions that it can go. This is when you put 6 of them together, eyes to eyes, you almost lose the face inside here. This one almost becomes more dominant. And I need to maybe make a nose right here and turn this into a yelling person or something. So it could be two different sets of faces going on. So that's one way that you could tile it. Another way would be like this, and it's like it isn't consistent. See, I switched it so it's much more organic than the other way is. You kind of know what's going to show up. This one you don't. And there's lots of different ways the end result can look. But if you start off with a very systematic piece like this, where everything is doing the same thing, everything on this side is shooting across, same thing over here shooting across the same places, it will be a design that looks like this. So it'll be, and you can continue on out and out and out with it. And it'd be very fun design-wise to color that in. I'm kind of intrigued with this little hexagon that shows up in the middle out of that little triangle that shows up there. There's just a little piece missing on each one, and that's what it ends up. So that's a part of this that's fun, is that it surprises you what you end up with. And when you join them, when you take them to the copy machine, your design, and you copy them off, if you copied off 4 of them, you could actually put them back together into a larger triangle like this. If you copied off 4, you could actually run them in a parallelogram like this, but it could be 5 of them, or it could be 6 of them in a row. So this could just keep going on and on and on and on out here if you wanted to. You put 6 of them together and you make a nice hexagon design. And this one makes kind of an odd little dancing guy with 7 of them stuck together. If you take this and add points outside, then you get this number, which takes 12. You'd have to copy your guy 12 times, 13 if you're going to give me one. And then 8 of them will make a diamond shape like this. So all of those are different ways that you could put it back together, and then you end up coloring in the black and white piece that you put back together. So you don't do the color until you get it all done and pieced together like this. Then you go into the color. This shows you the 3-dimensional type of objects that the same thing could go into a tetrahedron, 4 triangles, or the octahedron, 8 triangles, or the icosahedron, 20 triangles. So all of those have potential also. About that. All right, so this is an example. Now we started just with a triangle here, okay? Started with a triangle and copied it off, stuck it back together, and it ends up becoming this like a sand dollar or a starfish, I should say, in the middle. So it's kind of a little different type of thing, which is kind of cool. And let me show you what happens when you turn that into color. It's very, very interesting. And she used like purples and yellows, opposite colors in the coloring wheel, and used the blues, which are like analogous or right side-by-side colors that are a really good way to do that, I think. And let's see, the next one is this one, which is like a bear or a fox that's looking at you. It looks like a bear if you think of this as being the ear. It looks like a fox if you think of this as being the ear. So it's kind of interesting. Just a little tiny thing makes them look. But let's see what it looks like when you put it together with itself. Ends up creating a whole bunch of bear foxes. There's a face, there's another one. And this is just one way that can go together. This is an upside down one here, looking back this way. So it can do a lot of different types of things. Another example of a pretty geometrical piece. Everything seems to repeat about the same around. So you end up getting, no matter how you put it together, you're always going to get the same thing. But it's fun to see how it actually does look. This is a beautiful one. I've been trying to figure out what the beginning of this was, because in order to get the skeleton dancers here and the little firefly kind of bird or insect in there, and a sun in this area, it's very, very nice piece. But I have to admit, I can't remember quite where the triangle runs through that, but it did come out of this system. I know that. So this is one of mine. I just created this little triangle here, okay, and then reproduced it, and it fits together and makes this kind of thing. But it also, the single one can be folded up into its own tetrahedron. So that's all potential ways of putting things together. These are just some examples of how to run it off in the right places and still get realism. And these are fun to put back together because you never know how they're going to look. Same way with this, figures and looking how they run off and stuff. So lots of variety. Very simple design. Sometimes can be some of the better ones. This one's a little different system than what we're playing with, but it's playing with it in a very similar way. But the design could be used very easily. And then when you put it back together with itself, see, here's one triangle here, and this must have eight different triangles stuck together to create this. Another type of design, kind of all coming off of one side, but still being very systematic where it runs off. You can see it's very precise places that the design runs off, and yet it's all coming off of one side, which is interesting. This is actually put together into a pentagon, and pentagons will not lay flat, so it's bulging out. This is closer to you. This is further back away from you. And I just wanted to show you what, if you do get into that kind of a thing, this is how it turned out in color, and it actually hangs on the wall, but it is bulging out at you, which is cool. It's a nice way to do it. Or you could actually use the icosahedron, 20 equilateral triangles that have pentagon centers. This is 5 triangles coming off of this. And if you built one of these, say out of mat board or something, plywood, if you want to be real serious with it, built something like this and then stuck your design on that, it'd be a very interesting design. And this is another way you could do 4, coming together of 4 is the octahedron. I've done this quite a bit, you'll see at the end, in leaving them with the school. Or you can do 4 triangles. And remember, this could be made out of masonite. It wouldn't have the big balls or anything. It'd be flat-sided stuff. I just wanted to show you the real structure of it, though. This gives you an idea, I think, of how, if you're working along with this, pause some of that sometimes, and then just come back to what I'm talking about. But this is another example of moving quite a ways away from it looking like it came out of a system of any kind. In the end, these bodies are all tightly woven together. As you can see that design right through here, it just flows all the way through the whole design. Let me show you what it looks like in color. This is what it turned out to be in color. So it's figures, flip-flopping figures back and forth. Now, this is an example of taking a variety of different people's work and putting them together and showing how you can remember my face there that I just did, but this is another person's design, and another, there's the wolf bear kind of sideways. There's a nice style. I think we actually saw some of these and some what I've shown you. So that shows how they fit with other people's work. And then what I do is apply them to a large, like this is 24 inches, in order to get, I think I can get 72 different kids' work on this if I build a big polyhedron like this. And all the what's interesting is it fits together no matter how you look at this. So that's the objective on my part too, is to, and this just gives me some clue of how large it has to be for the right number of triangles, because this triangle is exactly the size of your triangle. And if I want more kids' work on it, I just have to build a larger and larger and larger triangle system. So that's partly my problem, or your teachers if they do this on their own. This was a very large piece that I have applied. This is all students' work that's stuck in here together. Some of it we maybe have looked at already, I'm not sure. But let me, I take all of the triangles and with Gorilla Glue, I glue it back down on this. Now I use a gator board. It's a really tough, hard, tough system that I use on it. See how it turns into color here? It's kind of fun. And then you just, once you get it down on that, then I take it back after I put it together and work with like 4, 5, 6 really good students and have them do all the coloring. And we use permanent pens so it lasts forever. And that's the, oops, let me go back to that one. I went by that too fast. This is what it looks like hanging in the school, waiting for students to come to class to work on it. And they'll probably take it down, put it on the table to do the work. This next one and the final one is to explain how we're using this triangle system with, see the little points there? A square would work just as well if you design, and a square and a triangle could work together. So then you could work with cube octahedrons and stuff like that. Some of those fancy polyhedron guys could mix together. So one student could design on a square, another one on a triangle. Their images would fit together. This is working on a pentagon, and it fits together. You can see how well it would fit together, and next to a hexagon. So any of those systems, if you use the same measurement on these, then you know they're going to fit with each other. So that's the basic idea of this, and it's pretty fun how it can work out. You know, I mean, it turns into endless amounts of things. I'm always intrigued with this stuff. When you start pushing it, pretty soon you kind of go, holy macro, this is just will do almost anything. So anyway, keep in touch and let me, send me any kind of images if you want to. If I was working with a school, I would do this on purpose and make you send them to me. But with this, I just wanted to share this with you through the State Arts Council, South Dakota State Arts Council. And I thank you very, very much for watching. I appreciate it very much. It's very, very fun.